Hello, everyone. Well, watching a lot of news here about the predictions of Ukraine war and Russia and the United States here and several other countries. The part two, the culture signs. As the story of the end continues to unfold, we can encounter several culture signs of what to become. Signs that are beginning to appear all around us even today. Mechanism is the most powerful religion of our day, a amped sign that we are nearing last days. Paul spoke of in his warnings to Timothy, and Daniel and Ezekiel predicted. The signs of moral decay is the evidence as well the breakdown of family life, substance abuse, alcoholism, and runaway addictive disorder, gambling, gaming, cheating, bullying, and high crime rates in prison populations. The rise of the radical Islam is setting the stage for the event in Ezekiel 38:39, which prophesies an invasion of Israel and the end of times by the vast coalition of nations, all of whom are Islamic today except Russia. The Bible also says the Christian persecution will increase, a spiritual warfare will intensify at the end of the present age approaches. And finally, there is perhaps the greatest culture threat of all, pathetic Christians who simply don't care anymore about the signs of times. In this section, we'll explore those 6 important culture signs of the end times. Materialism. Now, in March 2018, Forbes named investor and philanthropist Warren Buffett the richest person in the world. Yet, this man of great means have chosen to live more fragile than you might imagine. Another article pushes a couple of months later tells us more. Buffett has long been a admirer of his dog work ethics, staying close to his Nebraska roots and maintaining a relatively modest lifestyle, at least for someone with a net worth over $80 billion. He started out delivering newspapers 7 decades ago in Washington, D.C., where he lived as a teenager for several years, while his father served on the United States House. Today, Buffett lives in the same Oklahoma home he purchased back in 1958. His emphasis on fragile and philosophy has served as a life lesson to those who follow him every bit as much as a principle of value investing. He has perched, preached for decades as chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. Buffett self described religion might be in the business of making money, and perhaps he does love money, but his lifestyle doesn't lead observers to believe his particular uh, materialistic. If only that were true, everyone, including some Christians, money has a siren call that if answer it's always destructive, letting the love of money run amok eventually leads to a lifestyle of materialism, which Merriam-Webster defines preoccupation which with or stress upon material rather than intelligent and spiritual things. That lifestyles can involve hoarding money or increasing what in the bank at every opportunity, or it can be manifest as accumulation passion, adding more and more whenever possible. It can also mean constantly upgrading possession because of the desire for not just more, but better. Materialism comes with a cost that sometimes substitute, sometimes all too oblivious. For instinct, materialism is an enemy of the contentment when a desire for more and better outweighs the desire of financial stability. It can lead to crippling debt and present of discontent, and debt can affect our general well-being and a relationship of generations. Far worse is how materialism can narrowly being negative affect our walk with God and how rampant materialism is and will become in the last days. Pastor and speaker Dr. Mark Hitchcock pictures the inevitable climate of this growing material trend. During the coming tribulations, the gulf between rich and poor will grow wider than ever before. Food will be so expensive that the very wealthy will have enough. Famine will relentlessly hammer the middle class until the middle class disappears. The vast majority of people will wallow in misery, but the rich will continue to brisk in the comfort of their luxury style. The world will be radical divide among elite haves and the mass of have-nots. This will make the suffering of have-nots even more unbearable as they watch privileged few indulge themselves in the lap of luxury. In his unfolding visions of the end times, Apocalypse John describes the stream of basic human needs that will occur during the tribulation period. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature says, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hands. I heard a voice in the monitors of the four living creatures saying, "Quarter of wheat for Darius, and 3/4 of barley for Darius, and do not harm the oil and the wine." Revelation 6:5-6. In John's day, the quarter of wheat was minimum daily survival need for one person. In tribulation, the survival minimum will cost a full day's wage, which means common people will be forced to scrounge for cheaper, less nourishing food, simply to avoid starvation. Salt, cooking, oil, meat, milk will be utterly unavailable. Hey, Mustang. The rich, in the other hand, will not suffer those shortage. They will thrive during the tribulations, being able to afford ample food and accountant to make their food available and luxury such as oil and wine. Considering materialism, the Bible warns against loving money and possession are stern, direct, and unmanageable. In his sermon in the Mount, Jesus summoned it up as either or choice. No one can serve true masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one despite the other. You cannot serve God or minions. Why is the love of money is terrible? Irish clergyman O'Shea gives us an explanation. Money means a lot of different things. It is much more than it appears to be. It is God's greatest reveal. It is much more than the paper it seems to be, or the material, or the plastic. It is our love of things. It is our escape from dependence on people. It is our security against death. It is our effort to control life. It is much easier to love things than to love people. Things are dead, so you can possess them easily. If you can't love people, you will begin to love money. It will never hurt your feelings or challenge your motives, but neither will it ever respond to you because it's dead. And after a while, the problem will begin to show. You will begin to look dead yourself. After a while, you're incapable of loving anyone, and then you might as well be dead. Money is a nature, but extreme attachment to it's not nature. It is not kind of opposite religion. The religion of God is the religion of love. The intact of love is to share, to give away, but not instinct to minions to accumulate. Please do not misunderstood to this point, as many often do. Money itself is not evil. It is merely a convenient medium of exchange. It is the love of money that the problem you have money and still love, but as Jesus says, you can't love money and love God. Money and possessions have always drawn people away from God, but in our present culture, we see the problem running rampant and out of control. We can expect headlong descent and deeper materialism to intensify as the end draws near. The Apostle Paul clearly saw the coming. In the last days, perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boast, proud, blasphemy, disobey to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, and unforgiving, slander, without self control, brutal, despair of goods, traitor, headlong, strong, loving of pleasure rather than loving of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. In the brief but present passage, Paul lists 19 characteristics will be dominated society prior to the return of Christ. And he's not speaking merely the non-religious people, as he pointed out, many professing believers will have a form of godliness, but this form will have no power in their lives. They will claim to love God, but their lives will demonstrate that their real love is pleasure, power, possession. While it might be fruitful in examining all 19 of these ungodly characteristics, we must limit our attention to the first two, which gives us value and insights, including the subject in this chapter. Love of self. Love of yourself. When we disallow God his righteous place as the supreme leader of life, self move in the right place for him, self becomes the first love. God no longer holds the supreme place in our life, as old superstition claims that witches recite the Lord's Prayer backwards, beginning with "Give us this day our daily bread," ending with "Hallowed be your name," or "You will be done." While on the surface this may seem to be some prayer, envision, alter its meaning. It's placed itself first, God's last, reflecting complete reverse of priorities. The simple invasion of a prayer demonstrates how self love can worm its way into your heart of godly people, explaining to the point God is forced out. It can happen even while we convince ourselves that our Christianity is intact because we still going through the emotions. Through in our hearts, we inverted our loyalties without realizing the inversion is clearly occurring in today's church. Many now warming the pews project faded of godliness, but lives indistinguishable from others. Self love is more obvious, sometimes bluntly so, in our circular realm. The famous financial scammers of our generations, Bernie Madoff, Dennis Kowalski, Martha Stewart, Kenneth Clay, and Barney Eby, committed their fraud solely to benefit themselves. The same goes for those hackers who steal identity and drain private banks' accounts, and as well as phone scammers who con elderly people out of their savings. They don't care who they hurt or how badly as long as they get what they want. They demonstrate the spirit of age, which Paul identifies among anonymous signs that the end of times are fasting and approaching. Lovers of money. It is edible as night falling day. Those who are lovers of themselves will also be lovers of money. Why? Because money provides the meaning of pleasuring oneself. This explains why Paul warns Timothy that as the last days approach, people will increasingly become lovers of money. The growing audience desire for money dominate today's society. It's the fuel that drives the engine of our rampant commercialization. It is the standard by which people status, value, and success as judged. Wilfred Hahn observes how the management of money demonstrates a culture. Does it seem unimaginable that an intimidated thing like money, which at one time served only as a medium of exchange, should become something so large, complex, requiring legions of people, manage arrangement of who owns it too. This whole phenomenon is evidence of just how controlling monetary system has become. British philosopher Simon Critchley unveiled the truth about what money has become, calling it a dominant region of our time and seemingly godless world of global finance, capitalism. Money is the only thing in which we really must have faith. Money is the one true God in which we all believe, and it breaks down people have experienced something close to a crisis of faith. In starkly revealing illustration, John Piper demonstrates the foolishness of putting unwarranted trust influence of procedures of wealth. Picture 269 people entering and turning through a plane crash in the Sea of Japan. Before the crash, there are noted politicians, millionaires, corporate presidents, a playboy and his playmate, and mercenary kids on a way back from visiting grandparents. After the crash, they stand before God, uttering strip of the MasterCards, checkbooks, credit lines, image clothes, how to succeed books, Hilton reservation. Here are the politicians, exclusive, the Playboy, missionary, church kids, all on the ground level with nothing, absolutely nothing in their hands, possessing only what they brought in their hearts. How absurd and tragic the lover of money will seem on that day, like men who spends the whole life collecting train tickets, and the end is so weighed down by the collection that he missed the last train. Combating materialism, according to the Bible, the anti to materialism is generosity. Let's conclude by looking at the four ways we can combat the even increasing human tendencies towards loving money and possession more than we love God. Others, it all begins with how we view money. Well, I'm going to stop there. The next one is to change the way you think about money. So, hey, thanks for coming, Mustang. I appreciate it. Talk to you later. Bye.